So, it seems as though the weather is doing something really funny. It's actually getting a lot warmer, a lot sooner than what you expect. Normally, you wouldn't expect normal weather to come up until November or so. But the warmer weather has actually been hanging around since August, and the cool weather was late to come, and it didn't come until late June, so there really hasn't been that much of a winter, which is kind of strange because it supports the fact that the weather is changing. And that it may even be a warmer climate. And why might this be occurring? Well, it's really hard to tell, especially when you're not a geologist or a scientist of any kind. But I think Melbourne weather is going to end up being warmer, especially during the winter, and then other places that are closer to the tropics, which will experience a colder change rather than the warmer change like you expect because they're up in the tropical zone. So I'm comparing, say, Victoria to Queensland. Queensland not only received a longer winter, it was a colder one as well. They were experiencing -2 degrees, whereas Melbourne was experiencing 8 degrees. So that's a pretty radical change, and of course Queensland has had more storms than Melbourne, possibly has had more floods, more cyclone activity. So it's sort of doomed for the more extreme weather, whereas something like Victoria has some extremes in the country, closer to New South Wales especially. But on the larger stance, it has less extreme weather. And it seems as though it might be getting warmer, which is an extreme weather occurrence, as it may increase the risk of drought, especially in the outskirts of Victoria. However, for the winter, it just gives it a warmer winter, which isn't a bad thing since so many people hate the cold. But it just noted that it might be going through some kind of extreme. So there's this awkward tilt that's going on with the weather, but Melbourne has had long winters and cold winters heaps of times. But in the past year or two, particularly this year, it doesn't seem to have gotten so cold, and it definitely has not lasted that long. It was hard pressed to go under 8 degrees, whereas somewhere like Queensland was suffering -2 degrees. In New South Wales, possibly -7 degrees. So it's a bit of a radical change. And I think in the future, Melbourne might be the sunny state for winter, as opposed to somewhere like Queensland and even New South Wales. New South Wales is probably going to take the king of the colder winters, and will possibly experience more cyclones than somewhere like Queensland. And Queensland will take the cake for having probably the hottest summers, and I'm not sure what else it takes the cake for. Maybe it's really competing against New South Wales with floods, so I think New South Wales has the most extreme weather. Queensland would generally have the second most. And then comes Victoria, which was having warm winter, so So which place would you want to live? It's really hard to tell. A lot of people love the change of the weather. They love to be in the snow, so New South Wales is where you go if you want to have snowy winters. Some people hate extreme cold and extreme warmth, so I guess they'd want to go to Melbourne for the more medium temperatures, even though it does get a bit cold and warm. And then Queensland, some people just love the tropical, the weather, the sunsets, the beauty, the cyclones. On some level, cyclones can make the day exciting. I'm sure they don't love floods, but you do get floods in Queensland, so all the things which seem positive and negative at the same time, you'll probably find in Queensland. With a well air-conditioned house, you might not experience the weather outside, but you know it's there.